grand yacht build. My custom vintage 64 tether car, old school RC body. Trying to make a functional scale air ride slash hydraulic suspension for. And see, I've made a little bit of progress here, so I'm going to catch you up here with a video montage. So you're up to speed now. Okay, so what I did, I countersunk all of my cross members and my transmission mount. So I drilled all the way through both rails, both sides of the rail, and then the outsides I drilled out bigger so that I could get my nut driver inside of it. If I can get it in there. And now it bolts from the inside part of the rail through. So that way it's just a little bit easier to do than trying to run really long bolts through the entire frame rail. And you saw I was using just a drill gun. I wasn't using a press, so it's not exactly even all the way across. Nothing's ever perfect. I'm not striving for perfection here, so we're just rolling with the punches. So we got the transmission mounted. I think it's going to be a good spot where I can still get some kind of drive line in there. Up front also, I just use I gotta clean some of the burrs off, put it back on, it's crooked. Just use the Jalon 2 servo mounts. I did the same thing, countersunk through the outside portion of the rail. And just got my horn on this side right now. I have no idea where I'm going to need it, so that's very tentative. I may have to flip the servo, may have to find a different mount altogether. Ideally I wanted to use a Trail Finder 2 mount, but I got to thinking about it. It bolts across like this and has the arms this way, and without recessing the square into the actual tubing, it would probably tilt under the pressure of the servo. Whoa. So that was why I opted to go this route. So I didn't even realize that has spacers in it. I'm going to have to take those out as well. So roundabout, this is where my drive line is going to be, or my front axle. I am going to have to chop the frame ends down on both sides. So this is what I'm thinking. This is just some old stock Tamiya TAO2 touring car parts. Not sure if I want to use these. These are really cheap. I mean, you know, these old Tamiya kits, it's just all just plastic. There's nothing to it. I'm still missing a few bits, one of the shafts, and I'll have to come up with bearings and stuff, but I'm just going to use this to start mocking up how I'm going to hang the suspension off of the rail. which I still have no idea. I've got to wait till I get my air ride stuff in, which I do have a big surprise coming. Oh, I did want to give a big shout out. I never even have heard of these bodies. My buddy Richard Cook sent me a link, and we both got pretty excited about it, and I bought one. So here we are with this build, thanks to Richard. And I've been talking to my buddy Ross Armistead, and he's given me some ideas and some options here for air rod. He's doing a rat rod, a 32 Ford like mine, but his is going to be more of a rat, and it's going to actually have air ride as well. So he shared some ideas about the air ride system, and we're waiting on parts. So lots of exciting stuff to come. Let's see. We'll move over here to the back. Now my rear was intended to be straight out of the back, but nothing's perfect. I cut that. I've only had one Sawzall blade, and it's missing most of its teeth now after cutting and bending all of these bends on this frame. So that's where it came out. That's where it's going to stay. It is welded. My welding's getting better. I've got some decent welds coming up, so hopefully I've got to do a little bit of welding on my 58 Chevy, my real car. So I've been kind of using this as practice. So I haven't used a arc welder until this, and it's been 3 years since I went to school and learned how to do all of it. So pretty rusty. Hopefully this frame rail won't get too rusty. Like I said before, this axle is too narrow. The width is going to be all sorts of wrong, and I don't know yet about the front, how wide of a control arm that I'm going to need. I don't have a clue the parts yet. The rear is going to be your standard 4-link, but it's going to be very short, I believe, just because of the limitations. This here sits right against the back seat, right against the interior piece of that nice interior that's on that body. So I really couldn't go real far with it. But I'm going to go ahead and mock up this whole thing, get the body set on here so you can see how it sits in the back. Alright, so here you can see how the frame rails fit with the trunk. In the video you saw I did some trimming. I'm not sure yet about the trunk opening or closing. That's something a little bit further down the line. I just did need to make some room. I don't have any more tires off the axle, but I had to notch this out a little bit, so take the hinge off of the trunk so the tire can sit up in there. The chassis rails do make the body sit off the ground just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch, so that way when we let out our air ride and drag, we'll actually be throwing sparks off the frame instead of melting plastic. So yeah, let me get you a little bit lower. There you can see the front part of the step notch fits exactly against the rear of the interior, and having the frame rails keep the body up just a little bit is going to give us room to actually have a drive line. There is a small tunnel, and we're probably going to have to do a 2 or 3 piece drive line. Luckily the way the frame's set up, that I can throw like carrier bearings in if I need to, and have it come out the back and angle up to the axle, because I don't want to cut the interior at all. This interior is pretty awesome, so we're gonna do our best to save it in its original form. You can try to see underneath here, plenty of room, and I've got maybe almost 2 inches between the back of the tire and the frame. I really would have liked to make the chassis rails a little wider, but as far as the drivetrain and everything goes, cross member, stuff like that, I wanted to keep it the standard width of all the crawler stuff. Just like you see, the transmission and stuff just bolts right in. It's going to make it a lot easier in the long run. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to work yet, but we'll cross that bridge here in a little bit. Alright guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Appreciate y'all watching, and be sure to follow along on Instagram for sneak peeks, and Yep, I'll see y'all in the next video.